It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Monday, September 13th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this wonderful Monday? We got coronavirus updates, current news from around the world, the Sunday sermon, everyone worked together to fulfill the will that God has predestined, and of course, the new segment, Korean on the Go. So how are you doing today? I hope you guys had an amazing and awesome weekend. Yes, I'm still here in Los Angeles for a while, and I'm just trying to figure out how long I'm going to be here, what I'm going to do next, but it should be a nice 3 months for me to relax and, just focus on these podcasts and some other lectures and stuff like that too. Either way, oh yeah, for those who don't know, I did put a new segment, well, not a new segment on Patreon. I did a newcomer sharing for a Christian club here on campus. Well, it's our club for our church here, and it's a Christian club on Cal State University, Long Beach. So it was fun to help them out on their first meeting. All right, so how have you guys been? You guys must been doing just amazing. I'm sure a lot of you were already telling me that yesterday's message was just incredible. A lot of grace and fire from the Sunday message. But it's Monday again, and we can restart another amazing week together with the Lord. So thank you for joining us here on the Morning Star Drive. So like and comment below. Want to hear how you guys are doing. Espresso with Sky, we just had another video come out last week, and that was on Jacob wrestling with God. Hope you guys have seen that one. Go ahead and leave a comment below just to make sure that algorithm spreads. Espresso with Sky, that is our fifth video, I believe. It's the new direction of faith, life, God, and the Bible. So it's mainly for you and your newcomers to listen to. So it's a lot of logic, reasoning, and how Sunsim explains how, unpacking these new different types, well, not new, obviously, but unpacking these different events in the Bible that a lot of people think are literal, but they are not. Yesterday was a Sunday edition. We interviewed Kiara Williams from New York in the U.S. Great interview. Already have people commenting on it too, so I hope you guys really enjoyed that one too. Really moving, inspiring, and how she came to even pre-dawn was quite amazing. So go ahead and check out that Sunday edition. Also, big shout outs, Micah from Oz, Misa, and now in Japan for supporting us here on Patreon, for believing and supporting this channel. If you want to support us too, go ahead, check out the Patreon link in the description. And if you're on SoundCloud, click the blue button on the homepage. Patreon is a crowdfunding site that you can support the Morning Star Drive at just $3 a month. And at the moment, we have lecture training videos, and we have the Monday Bible studies, which will continue probably from I'm hoping next week. So go ahead and check that out. Also, what else is going on with that? Oh yeah, we're trying to hit 200 supporters right now. We're at 190, so we're right around the corner. So go ahead and help us out if you can. All right, so let's move on to today's featured artist of the day. And we're going to start off with Justar Aiden Verity from New Zealand. And the reason I'm going to put her the featured artist today is because there is a new song coming out this Friday. So I really, really hope that you guys will listen. I'm going to ask Justar if we can get like a sneak peek the day before, but really looking forward to that too. That's a new song coming out by Justar Aiden Verity from New Zealand, so really looking forward to that one. So we're going to start off with their latest single, Hot Guy in the Corner, and then we'll go to J Root from the Paper Music Associates in Korea with Blaze, and last but not least, we have Renee Lai from Taiwan, and this song is called Angels, and it's a cover from GEM. All right, guys? So as we were doing this 70-day prayer condition, and as prayer becomes a super part of our, especially the messages over the last month, I really hope that all of us can put a little prayer in for all these member artists from around the world.
Who are you? A mystery, a little bit hard to see. I'm starting to believe you might be what I need. Even in shadow, you look so nice. Can't wait to see you step into the bright lights. You're kinda shy and so am I to do something. If I slip in these heels. Eyes are spinning wheels. How can I keep my chill when you give me all the feels? Is that a halo? Is that a crown? Look at you, look at me, look you up and down. Take me out, I didn't wear all this for nothing. Nothing. Hold my hand up, I got a chance to do something. Do something with you. Hot guy in the corner, I don't know your name. Hot guy in the corner, isn't it such a shame? When you were always there, hoping I'd turn you away and say hey. Hot guy in the corner, to see my face in your face. All eyes on the hot guy in the corner, they're my eyes on the hot guy in the corner. All eyes on the hot guy in the corner, they're my eyes. My eyes. All eyes on the hot guy in the corner, they're my eyes on the hot guy in the corner. All eyes on the hot guy in the corner, they're my eyes. My eyes. You were always there, hoping I'd turn you away and say hey, I'm on fire. I see my face in your face. Can't wait. I see my face in your face. Can't wait.
It's you. 이유를 묻는다면 난 대답해. 우주 속에 날 바라보는 너는 shining blue. 이 깊은 외로움의 공간을 너 위에 채워줬어. 멈춰있던 시간이 흐르고 백사진 같았던 모든 게 painted with colors. 온기가 느껴져. It's true. Everything was made because of you. Everything was made because of you. 변하지 않는 건 헛된 상상이란 말은 절대 믿지 마. They will never know. 난 너가 알아준다면. My love is blaze. Blaze. 아픔을 태워버리고 널 감싸주고 싶어. 내게 맡겨 널 붙잡아줄 거니까 하루 종일 너의 꿈을 꾸게 될 거야. 너의 아름다움 지켜줄 거야. Just for you. 변하지 않는 건 헛된 상상이란 말은 절대 믿지 마. They will never know.
漫长的黑夜，抬头看看星星，此刻正脸呈现。也许是一场考验，看散落的心灵，此刻是否并肩？当你祈祷能看见奇迹，你是否相信？那答案就是你。你是最平凡却最温暖的天使，此刻风雨里，可惜有你的坚持，你带泪的笑容，有天会带来雨后的彩虹。世界因为你在痛里有感动，多少次沿路颠簸，多少大雨滂沱，我们都曾度过。尽管会怕会难过，同舟的你和我，再不必退缩。当你祈祷能看见奇迹，你是否相信？那答案就是你。你是最平凡却最温暖的天使，此刻风雨里，可惜有你的坚持，你带泪的笑容，有天会带来雨后的彩虹。世界因为你在痛里有感动。
And there it is. That is Renee live from Taiwan with a cover of the song from GEM. That song is called Angels. Before that, J Root from the Paper Music Associates in Korea with Blaze. And last but not least, we had the feature arts of the day. Juice-Star Aiden Verity coming out with a new single this Friday. So hopefully get a sneak peek of that on Thursday. But that song is Hot Guy in the Corner. All right, so let's get into the coronavirus updates. What have we missed over the entire weekend? There's 225.2 million cases in the world with 4.64 million deaths. That's a 2.06% mortality rate. Top 5 countries going by daily infection rates and daily death rates. We have the US on top. 72,000 cases with 719 deaths in a single day. We have India, 31,000 cases, 338 deaths. The UK, 29,000 cases, 156 deaths. The Philippines, 26,000 cases, 78 deaths. And then last but not least, we have Turkey, 22,000 cases with 259 deaths. Over here in North America, of course, the US is on top. And then we have Mexico with 14,000 cases and 699 deaths. And then, of course, Canada, 2,200 cases, only 19 deaths. Well, Mexico is quite interesting. We're not, sometimes we don't know how bad the situation really is. But you have the U.S. with, 72,000 cases with 700 deaths or 719 deaths. And then you have Mexico with like a fourth of that. They're only at 14,000 cases. No, it's not even a fourth. It's like a fifth, right? And that's 600. It's only 20 less deaths. But there are 50,000 less cases in a day. So you see how dire the situation is in Mexico right now. Let's get into the current news going on around the world. We're going to start off with Iran. So the IAEA and Iran reached an agreement to avert nuclear deal crisis. So Iran and the UN's nuclear agency reached an agreement on Sunday and said talks will continue later this month. The head of the UN nuclear watchdog and Iran's nuclear chief have reached an agreement that will prevent another crisis looming over the prospect of restoring Iran's 2015 nuclear deal. So Rafael Grossi, the director general of the International Atomic Energy Agency, or the IAEA, landed in Tehran late on Saturday and met Mohammad Eslami, the newly appointed head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, on Sunday morning. Now, it was Grossi's first trip to Tehran during the new administration of President Ibrahim Raisi, who appointed Eslami as a new nuclear chief on August 29th, and both sides called the meeting constructive and agreed they will continue discussions on the sidelines of the agency's general conference in Vienna later this month. They also agreed that Grossi would travel to Tehran again soon to replace the agency's monitoring cameras, memory cards, which will still be kept in Iran in line with a law passed by the hardline Iranian parliament in December. Now, Iran has since February said it will only hand over the tapes to the agency after an agreement is reached in Vienna that will lift unilateral U.S. sanctions. Now, the meeting came days after two new confidential IAEA reports were shared with the media, showing the agency's concern over Iran's nuclear program. The report said Iran has failed to adequately cooperate on the agency's recording equipment, some of which may have been destroyed after an incident, while it is resuming high enrichment of uranium and has not provided a full explanation on nuclear materials at several locations. Now, Iran has doubled down after the reports, calling on the agency to maintain its independence and refrain from political moves, and avoiding a resolution against Iran would anger opponents of the nuclear deal, specifically Israel, which has been lobbying against the deal's restoration. So that is some good news with Iran and this nuclear deal. Hopefully they get a better deal going, since, the one in 2015 was just terrible and didn't even really work. And they were almost going, Iran was basically breaking almost all the rules for it. So let's hope that there's something better that comes up there. In second news, we have Japan and Vietnam. They signed a defense transfer deal amid China worries. So Tokyo says the new deal elevates the Japan-Vietnam defense partnership to a new level. Japan and Vietnam have agreed to step up cooperation amid worries about China's growing military influence, signing a new deal that enables the export of Japanese-made defense equipment and technology to Hanoi. Now, Japan's defense minister, Nobuo Kishi, said the deal signed on Saturday elevates the two countries' defense partnership to a new level, and that Japan and Vietnam plan to deepen defense ties through multinational joint exercises and other means. Now, details about the transfer of specific equipment, including naval vessels, will be worked out in subsequent talks, the Japan Defense Ministry said in a statement. Now, Kishi's meeting with his Vietnamese counterpart, Phan Van Giang, in Hanoi coincided with a two-day visit to the Vietnamese capital by Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. The Chinese diplomat wrapped up his visit by saying Beijing plans to donate 3 million doses of its coronavirus vaccine to Vietnam. And he also said China and Vietnam should refrain from any unilateral actions regarding the South China Sea that could complicate the situation and magnify disagreements. Vietnam has territorial disputes with China over the Spratly and Paracel Island groups in the South China Sea. In a veiled reference to China's increasingly assertive actions in the disputed waters, Japan's defense ministry said Kishi and Jiang agreed on the importance of maintaining freedom of navigation and overflight in the Indo-Pacific region, as well as cooperation in various defense areas, including cybersecurity. So the ministry said Kishi expressed Japan's strong opposition to any unilateral attempts to change the status quo by coercion or any activities that escalate tensions. Japan and China are also embroiled in a territorial dispute, with Tokyo regularly protesting against the Chinese Coast Guard's presence in the East China Sea near the Japanese-controlled Senkaku Islands, which Beijing also claims and calls Diaoyu. Okay, so that's what China calls it. So Japanese officials say Chinese vessels routinely violate Japanese territorial waters around the islands, sometimes threatening fishing boats. Vietnam is the 11th nation with which Japan has signed a defense equipment and technology transfer deal, and Tokyo is looking to expand military cooperation beyond its longtime ally, the U.S., and has signed similar agreements with the UK, Australia, the Philippines, and Indonesia. Last but not least, on Saturday, it was the 9/11 anniversary for 20 years, guys. So there was emotional tributes paid to the lives lost. Relatives of people who died on 9/11 have read out victims' names as the U.S. marks 20 years since the deadliest terror attacks on its soil. Many struggled to hold back tears at the ceremony held at Ground Zero, the site of the Twin Towers destroyed in the attacks by al-Qaeda militants. A minute's silence was held at the exact time each hijacked plane crashed. George W. Bush, who was the U.S. president at the time, gave a speech in Pennsylvania where one of the planes crashed into a field after passengers overpowered the hijackers. The official memorial in New York started with a minute's silence at 8:46 a.m., the exact moment the first plane hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center in 2001. All morning, roses continued to be placed beside the names of the 2,977 victims etched into Ground Zero Memorial. There were 5 more moments of silence over the next few hours, marking the time when the second plane crashed into the South Tower, the third jet struck the Pentagon just outside Washington, D.C., and the fourth plane crashed in Pennsylvania, and finally when each tower collapsed. So the tributes continued into the night as 2 beams of light shone 4 miles into the sky, or 6.4 kilometers into the sky. So that is the top news going on over the weekend. We'll get into some sporting news. Sporting news will start off with the tennis U.S. Open for the women's. In the women's, no one knew what to expect out of the U.S. Open all-teen women's final between Emma Raducanu from England and Leylah Fernandez from Canada. The Open has seen 2 teens battle it out for the championship before. The last time was 1999 when a 17-year-old Serena Williams stopped an 18-year-old Martina Hingis. But 2 unseeded players making it all the way to a major final has never happened on the men's or women's side until now. So on top of this, the tennis world is still getting to know Fernandez and Raducanu on the biggest stage they've ever performed on. The teens showed flashes of why women's tennis has new blood. Raducanu and Fernandez displayed some of the reasons they turned this fortnight into their own party in their first meeting as pros. Raducanu became the first qualifier to win a major in tennis history. She won 6-4, 6-3 to stop Fernandez's incredible run. So congratulations to Raducanu from England. In soccer news, Cristiano Ronaldo delivers on Manchester United's return with 2 goals and a show to delight Old Trafford. Cristiano's football career has always defied logic, and by making a spectacular return to Manchester United with 2 goals in a 4-1 win against Newcastle United, he showed again that he only follows his own script. Yes, and he's 36 years old, so that's incredible what he's doing. And last but not least, we had some upsets in college football in the U.S. Oregon delivers a seismic shift to the 2021 college football playoff picture, with the Ducks defeating Ohio State, which is in the top 4, 35-28. The Pac-12 now has a genuine contender. Also, there was another big upset. Florida State University they are ranked, but they lost to Jacksonville State, unranked and not in conference. So that is the first time, I believe, ever for Florida State to lose in that way. So that is the news going on around the world. Hope you guys really enjoyed that, which means it's going to be a time for us to get into what we call, yes, it is the golden time. Yeah, so we're going to get into the golden time right now, and we're going to have a time of praise and worship to the Holy Trinity. We're going to start off with My Beloved is Like the Sun, and then we'll get into connection, and last but not least, we'll break it down with Lord, I call upon your name. All right. So as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving glory, worship, honor, and praise to the Holy Trinity.
See the sunrise here on the beach. Here I am with the Spirit. by brushing by. But if skin brushes skin, will they just merely connect? That will make them turn into lovers. If clothing brushes clothes, it could last for 10 years. But if it's skin to skin, 100 years. If it's our hearts that touch them together, we should live for 1,000 years. Two people may connect just by brushing by. But if skin brushes skin, will they just merely connect? That will make them turn into lovers. If clothing brushes clothes, it could last for 10 years. But if it's skin to skin, 100 years. If it's our hearts that touch them together, we should live for 1,000 years. So then, if we're brushed by God, how many years should we remain by His side, living together? Years aren't enough to measure. We must live forever, tied to each other, always together We'll live in perfect Lord, I call upon your name. Oh my Lord, oh my love. Lord, where are you? Where are you now? I want to be in your arms and confess to you, oh Lord. At this moment, I wish to be reborn. With all my heart I call and call. All of a sudden I can feel the fire of His love come closer to me. As the warmth of His love continuously seeps into my soul, hot tears begin to stream down from my eyes. 'Cause I feel my Lord has come. I feel Him next to me. The glowing warmth of His love is healing my spirit. How I want to be the love of my Lord. Earnestly I plead, forgive me, oh my love, my precious Lord. I call upon your Lord, I call upon your name. Oh my Lord, oh my love. Lord, where are you? Where are you now? With all my heart I call and call. All of a sudden I can feel the fire of His love come closer to me. As the warmth of His love continuously sinks into my soul, our tears begin to stream down from my eyes. 'Cause I feel my Lord has come. I feel Him next to me. The glowing warmth of His love that's healing my spirit. How I want to be the love of my Lord. Earnestly I plead, forgive me, my love, my precious Lord. 'Cause I feel my Lord has come. Please stay right by my side. Reveal your heart to me. Receive this heart of mine. For I have no strength without you, my Lord. All my hope is in you alone. Oh, my love, my precious Lord, I call upon your name. Oh, my Lord, I call upon your name. Oh, my Lord, I call upon your
And there you have it. That is Lord, I Call Upon Your Name. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. That's all the way back in the Rapture year, right? 2015. Before that was Connection, and of course, My Beloved is Like the Sun. All right, so here we go into one of the sections that a lot of people really enjoy, and I enjoy myself too because it allows me to review and go over the messages too. And we're going to go over the Sunday message, Everybody Work Together to Fulfill the Will That God Has Predestined. And that complete testament scripture is God says. So this is not just, this is a different one. It's like, this is literally God saying. God says, everyone should be united and do the work together. Shouldn't always be, there shouldn't always be some people that always do the work. All of you have raptured and resurrected, and all of you should do it together. And that's something that needs a lot of unpacking too, to understand what that complete testament scripture is. And of course, last but not least, we have one of the probably one of the most famous scriptures in the Bible. Many people have memorized and recited this verse in Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who have loved Him, who have been called according to His purpose. So this is a wonderful, wonderful scripture and message this week. And it makes, I'm sure everyone's thinking very deeply just about the overall message itself too. And the very first point that I really like that kind of opens up what this complete testament scripture is saying. That second sentence is we shouldn't always have the same people that always do the work, only some, right? Everyone has raptured, everyone is resurrected, and all of us should do it together. Now, that is a different question that we have to figure out to ourselves and discuss with each other is what does that mean, right? Those of you in other departments that are not, you can't actively just go out on campus, and you have family, you have work, so you can't just actively do the same things as these students that have so much time. So what does it mean that we should all do it together? But I like this very first point that Pastor Joan made was to be united, right? To be working together. It doesn't mean we're all attached doing the exact same things. It just means we are all centered on the same point and doing the function that we should be doing, right? And that wouldn't be any different than like some type of machine or even a computer. There's only certain parts that are connected to the CPU. That's the brain of the entire computer. But each of the different parts, whether it's the fan or whether it's, the different parts about it, the memory, whatever it is, all of them have to function on their parts. They may not all be connected to the CPU, but they all have to do their functioning or the entire computer doesn't work. So I hope that's something like the very, very first thing that I was thinking about is, well, what about blessed families? Like, what about JS? What about career members? How are they able to do things together? And people, we all have to kind of get together, understand what are the things that we can do in our department, or what can we do to contribute. And we all have different things. We do, right? We all have very, very different things that we can do to contribute to make, to all work together, right? We should be united and do the work together. So doing the work together, just like what Pastor Jones said at the very beginning, has nothing to do with all being in the same place. We don't all have to be at church, lecturing the same person. That would be really weird if every time there's a newcomer doing a lecture, the entire church comes out. There's like 200 people sitting in on the lecture. Yeah, it kind of would be nice, but no, I don't think we need to have 200 people out at a lecture. That just doesn't even make any sense. So we need to really talk and discuss with our departments, our groups, our teams. What are we able to do, right? That we can be united all towards the same goal and doing our function. And I think that's something that we have to really discuss. And some things are very indirect. Right? So, the most important part of this week's message is about the word together, doing it together. Everyone. That's the key point, right? That's the key word of this week's message is everyone together, right? Everybody working together to fulfill the will that God has predestined. Whether it's people praying, whether it's people donating something, their time, food, cooking, effort, money, whatever it is, there's something that everyone can do. So, the thing that we have to understand is, we're living in the best time right now. And it's the time when God is most satisfied because this is after fulfilling the purpose of creation. So this complete testament time becomes the most satisfying point for God, where all of God's promises are fulfilled. So now is the time that we have to remember remember all the different, wow, we're in this time of resurrection more than any other time. So we have to be those that I think Pastor Joan talked about it a lot yesterday, was, the expectation of, how we should be because all of a sudden this message came out. But it's not as simple, it's not as easy. Nothing's really changed. And that's something that we have to realize and recognize as people in this history. And of course, this is one of the main principles that Sunstein actually teaches too. And what does he teach? He teaches about the history of God is not a history that is instantaneous or quick or fast, but it is a gradual history. And this is one of the principles that Sunstein teaches in the Millennium Lecture. And I know we don't teach that anymore, but that's one of the most important things that we have to remind ourselves. This is what Sunstein told us even during the rapture, saying that just because you rapture doesn't mean all of a sudden you've changed into a perfect person. No, it doesn't mean that. Right? We fulfilled everything we need to fulfill. And now the next thing we need to do is gradually, step by step, we have to reach a new level. Right? So I like this point that Pastor Joan made was don't just chase after God. And I think that's an important point. Don't just chase. You have to walk together. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh, shouldn't we be running after God? And she's like, no. We have to be those side by side doing it together, which means, it's the issue that we're dealing with is not actually how much time we have left, right? It's not about the issue of, the time, right now is the time. So the issue isn't the time itself, but the issue is it's when we don't follow, right? When we don't follow according to time. Right? So remember, if we want to gather and scatter with the Lord, Sunstein always says you have to live according to the words every week, then you are gathering and scattering with the Lord. You know exactly what the Lord is doing and you're doing it together with him. The problem happens is when we don't do things with the Lord at that time, right? At the time that God is saying to us, right? And, it was really good. It was really refreshing. When Pastor Joan was talking about, how dead she was and she needed to resurrect and there's this problem and that problem. But then it's like all of a sudden English comes out of her. She's like, so what? Right? So what? What's the big deal? Is it really that big? And that's the thing that I think we have to put into our minds. It's kind of that I don't care attitude. Well, not I don't care. It's just that it's that attitude you have when you're like, wait a second. So what? You know what I mean? It wasn't one of those regular, so what? It was like, so what? Is it really that big? right? The most important thing right now is not the issues that we face, is that the time has come. The life of resurrection is here, and that is the most important things, right? And she gave the perfect question. It was, how did you live for the last 2 weeks? Was it that perfect? Was it that great? And she's like, oh my gosh, right after I went through a difficult time. And she's like, some people are like a roller coaster, some people like a jet ski, but it's all according to our situation and environment. Resurrection is proclaimed, and some do well, and some face many problems, right? And this is a normal thing in life. Yes, why? Because just because it's the time doesn't mean God removes every obstacle, doesn't mean that there's no problems anymore. After the message was proclaimed 2 weeks ago, some people gained strength. Some people lost strength. Some people became hesitant. Some people, as usual, didn't care and they just stayed dead. Where were you? Where was I? Right? And that's something that we have to look at is like, oh yeah, I haven't done, some people are like, oh, I haven't done pre-dawn in a long time. And then all of a sudden the first day after that great message, you do pre-dawn, but then you miss the next 3 days. You're like, oh, what happened? Oh, I'm no good. So we have to understand is all these different things, the way that we have to understand things is much different. And we are in a history. What kind of history is it? It is a history where it is gradual and it really depends on the situation we're in. Just because a message came out, imagine you, let's just pretend, like, let's take a look at it and from the worst situation. Let's just say you have cancer. Do you think when the resurrection message came out, all of a sudden everyone loses cancer? No way. We still got to deal with it. Still got to go through chemo. Still got to go through that difficult times. We still got to go through it. It doesn't. If you're dead and you don't do anything about it, you stay dead. Right? So the biggest difference between, when you look at the difference between this ideal world, like this is what Pastor Joan talked about, is the ideal world is what everyone wants. But of course, interpretation that the world has and the former faith has is instantaneous and that's going to happen like this. But what do we interpret? The biggest difference is us. It's about us changing. Even if the resurrection time comes, we still got to change. We still have to change. And do you think changing is easy? It's not. We have to do it together with God, right? We hear the message sometimes, we love it, and we cry, and then the week starts again, and then bad stuff happens at work. You get into a fight with your mom or dad or your friends, whatever it is, or your husband or wife, and then life is the same as before. It's constantly the same thing. The only thing that changes when you heard the message is your expectation, right? Your expectation changed. So what is the expectation we should have in this time of resurrection? What is it? And when everything doesn't change. It's about following the time. It's about taking action on the word. Now, we've heard that so many times. But what is God saying to us? He says, you have to follow God's time. So, when we were, think about how much we did that before. When Sunstein, for 10 years, he was gone, we did some crazy things, like 5 years of the Holy Spirit movement. On top of it, we had like a 1 a.m. prayer conditions. We followed the time. We did. As crazy as that sounds, we actually followed the time. It took a lot of effort. It took a lot of our time. We suffered, actually, going to work after 1 a.m. prayer, right? So the biggest thing that has to happen is we have to follow this time, which means we have to change now more than any other time, right? It's not going to be instantaneous, but we got to change. We have to follow the time, right? Like if I give you, there's one thing that I heard from Pastor Joan, and she said that in this time of resurrection, I want to match the time. I want to match God's time, right? I don't want to stop. I want to keep going during this time of resurrection, which means it's the effort we have to put in now. Like this is the time to resurrect. This is a time we could do it together with God. And it reminds me of what Sunstein said during the time of the rapture. He says, change now or else it'll be so hard to change after. Change now when that thread of help from God is with you right now. That thread of help. Even though it's a small thread, it is easier now. See how hard it will be later. And this is the time, right? We have to change little by little, bit by bit, right? And many of us listen to the messages. We come to life through the services. And it's quite sad too, because many people give up in the middle. And they think like, oh my gosh, forget it. And then instead of making up their mind to continue, they make up their mind to quit. So we have to be those that understand, yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's going to take some time. Yes, we're not going to be perfect. But we can't think that it's over. Like, oh no, it's done. Right? Because once you think it's over, then you let go and you start complaining about your parents, your friends, Providence people, your pastor, Providence in general. Right? What we have to do is what the message said. When we receive the word, we have to do it with all our heart, will, and life, whether it works or not. Never say it's over, regardless. Think about that, whether it works or not. That's the way we've been able to survive until this point, regardless of it, whether it works or not. That's how Providence history has run for 43 years. Sometimes it's worked and sometimes it hasn't, but we kept pushing through, and that's why we've come this far. We reached this point and we kept going, just continuously doing what God wanted. We're not in tribulation anymore. Think about it. Sunseem's not there anymore. 10 years is done. Why is it difficult? It's our own difficulty. And that's okay. That's normal. It's okay to have our own difficulties. There are difficulties in life. Every individual, family, school, work, church, we're all going to go through it. It's okay. But at least the time of tribulation is over where Sunseem's no longer there. It's a time of resurrection. So this is a time we receive blessing and power to do it. It's the time for us to do what God has predestined, right? So we got to pray. And what the great message given was, prayer is the catalyst. It is the engine. It doesn't matter how big the body is. If your engine is strong, it'll run and it'll move. It doesn't matter how huge the body is. If the engine is big enough, it'll move. Prayer is the catalyst that allows God's thoughts to come into us. We've got to pray each and every time. Hope, just even if it's a small prayer, just pray each and every day. Right? It's about these actions that we take. When we take action, we see God work. When we take action, we see hope. When we take action, we see movement. But it's when we stop taking action, that's when problems happen, because we begin to lose hope. We see nothing happening. We think God is no longer there. We need to take action, then our problems are going to be resolved at every level, right? So we have to be those, right? That not going to just sit there and say, why aren't things working out? We have to do what God wants. The word is the path of life. Things happen according to what is predestined, right? So only those that, like if you think the example that Pastor Joan gave was, and Sunseem gave was, only those that crossed the Red Sea were able to go over. That's it. If you didn't take action, you'd be stuck. So now, the Holy Trinity, the Lord are taking action, so we have to do it together. Take action, keep the faith, and those who do together will resurrect even more. And then we become even more beloved ones of God. And that's something that we have to really recognize. If we do according to the predestined will of God, then God's history will always be fulfilled. So now the Holy Trinity is on our side, and we are living together with them. So we have to be firm in our faith, take action boldly. Don't worry if it works out. Don't worry if it doesn't work out. You just got to continue. This is how history is run. It's not perfect. We are not perfect. We've got to change. But how much better is to change in the time, right? We need to change in the time where it is resurrection, where God's time has come. So I hope it's something that all of us can think about as we work together, become united as one, everyone together fulfilling the will, all right? So everyone, let's find our way, find that place that we should be in, find the place that we can work together with the same thoughts, with the same goals, all right? So I hope that the word study kind of helps us to think a little bit more clearly and more deeply. And I hope that everyone can just get that catalyst, that engine running, so that we can just reach a deeper level of doing things together with the Holy Trinity and the Lord, okay? So that is the word study for today. I hope that you guys really enjoyed that. And I really hope that if you guys have any other things that you want to bring up, go ahead and put that in the comments. Would love to hear it, okay? So we're going to move into the song of choice of today. And I'm going to go into some Filipino artists. Great song. I just heard this song the other day, and I'm going to play this one for you. It's a cover from Jamie Miller, and the song's called Here's Your Perfect, and it's performed as a duet from Daryl Ong and Katrina Velarde. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. From the Philippines, this is Here's Your Perfect.
I remember the day, even wrote down the date that I fell for you. Now it's crossed out in red, but I still can't forget if I wanted to. And it drives me insane, think I'm hearing your name everywhere I go. But it's all in my head, it's just all in my head. But you won't see me break, call you up in 3 days, I'll send you a bouquet saying it's a mistake. Drink my troubles away, one more glass of champagne, and you know I'm the first to say that I'm not perfect, and you're the first to say you want the best thing. And now I know a perfect way to let you go. Give my last hello, hope it's worth it. Here's your perfect.
Remember the day when you flew to LA, how I said goodbye. And you begged me to go, but I knew that I'd only be taking up your time. Hope you know that I hate how I make your heart break, but you needed the space, so I pushed you away. And I'm happy to say that you're doing so great on your own. I'm the first to say that I'm not perfect, and you're the first to say you want the best thing. But now I know a perfect way to let you go. Give my last hello, hope it's worth it. I'm the first to say that I'm not perfect, and you're the first to say you want the best thing. But now I know a perfect way to let you go. Give my last hello, hope it's worth it. Say yeah, yeah, yeah. But now I know a perfect way to let you go. Give my last hello, hope it's worth it. Here's your perfect.
And there you go. That is a cover from Jamie Miller's Here's Your Perfect. That was Daryl Ong and Katrina Velarde. Great, amazing singers. Hope you guys really, really enjoyed that. Which means that we're going to get into today's last segment. And of course, really excited about this one. We have Preston Lewis over there. He's American, been studying Korean for 9 years already, and now he is already interpreting and transcribing into English. He's going to do this segment each and every week, every Monday. This is Korean on the Go.
What's up, everyone? This is Preston Lewis back for another episode of Korean on the Go. This is week 6. I've been coming to you guys every week with language learning tips and tricks. You may be asking yourself, can I really learn Korean? Yes, you can. You just need the willingness to learn, and I am here, as always, to help you with the how. So last week I shared with you guys some of my thoughts about dictionaries. Now, I think dictionaries are definitely useful, but they're useful when used in tandem or at the same time as another source of learning, like the word. I especially like Naver Dictionary because it has lots of definitions, along with lots of examples of how it's used in sentences. I also emphasized last week the importance of not stressing so hard to memorize new words when you're first seeing them. Instead, it's always good to, wait till you see the word a few times. Of course, I look up a word every time I see a new word, but I'm not struggling to try to memorize it right away. Because once you start seeing a word a lot and you're looking up a word a lot, naturally you're going to be like, oh man, I should know this word by now. Or, oh man, I've heard this before. Or I've looked this up a few times before. And at that point, your brain is much more primed to remember that word, and you're going to be remembering and memorizing much more useful words. Right? So this will keep you guys from putting all that energy and effort into words that are not so useful or words that are not so important. All right, guys, so for this week, what am I going to talk about? I told you guys that I wanted to cover a topic that many people overlook when it comes to learning a foreign language. I don't think it's emphasized enough, actually. I'm talking about pronunciation or the accent of the language we're learning. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, pronunciation is not that important. I just need to learn the right vocabulary and I need to learn the right grammar patterns, and people will be able to understand me. But guys, I can't tell you how often people's hard work and practice in learning a foreign language gets wasted because they have bad pronunciation. You see, I have a friend who studied Korean a lot, and he worked really, really hard, and he memorized lots of vocabulary. He knew lots of grammar patterns, but he had a very strong accent in his original language. So whenever he spoke to me in Korean, I couldn't understand what he was saying. But it wasn't just me. Koreans even couldn't understand when he spoke Korean. The whole point of learning Korean is we want to be able to communicate with Koreans. But if our accent, our pronunciation is not good enough, if it's so off, then people won't even understand us. So the purpose of learning Korean, which is communicating with Koreans, that purpose is not achieved. I also have a friend who teaches Korean to English speakers here in Korea. She's Korean. And she said that when an English-speaking person has a very strong English accent as they're speaking Korean, she said she starts to get a headache after talking to them for a while, because the brain has to work a lot harder to try to decipher what the person is saying if they have a strong accent. And I'm sure all of us who speak English can relate to that concept with someone who has a strong foreign accent when they're speaking English. So in this way, accent is very important. Pronunciation is very important. So what am I saying? I'm saying that with all the hard work you're putting into learning words, all the hard work you're putting into learning grammar patterns and phrases, you should be putting just as much time, effort, and emphasis in your mind on learning the correct pronunciation and the correct accent, and on practicing it to become more natural. Now, guys, of course, I'm not saying we have to sound like a native Korean. I'm not even sure that it's possible for us to sound 100% native, although I think it's good to challenge ourselves to it. Because honestly, I've practiced my accent so much, my pronunciation so much, and people compliment me a lot saying, hey, your pronunciation, wow, it's really good. But just the other day, I was listening to a voice message that I sent someone in Korean, and I was kind of like, oh man, I sound like that? Oh, I can still hear my English accent, even though I've worked so hard to try to sound natural. So there are still points to improve, and it's something I think we can always improve on. But the point is that the accent is really, really important. So I'm planning on talking about accent, pronunciation, for the next couple of episodes. For today's episode, I just wanted to introduce the concept that accent is important, to try to break that maybe perception that some of us might have, that it's not so important. The purpose is for people to understand you. This is what I'm going to be talking about in the next couple of episodes. I want to give us some concepts about how to think about accent, how to understand it, how to understand pronunciation, and also I want to give some tips, some tricks, some methods that I used to help me to practice my accent. So I hope you guys are looking forward to it. As always, guys, please comment below if there are things you liked about today's episode. Please comment if there are things you want me to help you with in the future episodes. If you let me know, I can include it for sure. So this has been Preston Lewis with Korean on the Go, the place for you to get weekly tips and tricks on learning Korean. I learned Korean doing these things, and you can too. So until next week, everyone, keep watering that seed.
Thank you so much, Preston Lewis, for another awesome episode of Korean on the Go. You guys, this is an awesome segment. I think all of us just need that boost, and it's good to hear these different ways and understandings of what we need to focus on each and every week. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and if you really, really enjoyed that, please go ahead and leave a comment below for Preston. He'd love to hear your comments on his Korean on the Go, and, write some stuff down of things that you would love to learn too, okay? So that is the last segment for this wonderful Monday. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. Everyone have an amazing and awesome Monday. Just thankful for all of you guys supporting and listening to these podcasts, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly, so let's realign. Just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, I'm on the Morning Star Drive, I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like